Today on the Roundhouse, we are traveling aboard a train occupied by Nazis who are desperately trying to escape with stolen art and are to be attacked by the Allies. All aboard!
In days past, the roundhouse was where the railroad worker united with the steam locomotive, each to prepare for the journey ahead. Today, it's where we examine the history, the industry, the machines, the hobby, and the passion behind railroading. News, interviews, stories, and more. So climb aboard. This is The Roundhouse.
Welcome to the Roundhouse. I'm your host, Nick Ozorak, and this is mini-sode number 3 of our Trains and Railroading podcast, where we talk about everything in the industry and the hobby. You name it, we discuss it. And if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. This is our first time doing a video along with the audio, so if you're used to listening to this on the roundhousepodcast.com, you can go to YouTube or Facebook and see the video feed of this. And links will be in the show notes for mini-sode number 3. Today, we are going to travel back in time to 1945. We are in the Ruhr Valley of Nazi Germany. There is a German train with soldiers aboard, a few of the high command, and stolen paintings that are desperately trying to escape before the Allies invade. Now, the Allies know about this train, and they're going to do everything in their power to try and stop it. We board the train. We show the officials our passports. As we're enjoying our journey, all of a sudden the train slows down and gunfire erupts. And there's smoke around us, and the soldiers are firing at Allies that are on the ground trying to recapture the train desperately. But they don't succeed, and the train continues on its journey. Now, when we reach the next station, the train comes to a stop. All of a sudden, massive fighting breaks out between the Allies and the Germans. And this goes on for about 20 minutes. There's smoke in the air. And finally, the Allies are successful. They capture the high command and they get control of the train. So then we're heading back now that the Allies have captured the train. And we're just about to make it. But all of a sudden, the Germans, having gotten word of the Allies recapturing the train, now descend and try to take it back. Gunfire erupts, and it looks close. It's intense fighting, but thankfully, the Allies are able to hold the train and get it underway, and we make it to the final station safe and sound. So let's go behind the scenes of this event. This was a special weekend held by the Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad in western Pennsylvania. This is their 4th time having held this event, where they reach out to some of the local World War II reenactors groups to make this event happen. The details put into this were thorough and impressive. The soldiers had set up an encampment at the main station. Photos you can see here on the video feed or at the roundhousepodcast.com. When we boarded, we were given these complimentary passports, which that was a pretty cool detail to have. And I'm told that people were being asked to show their passports at random, so that was really well thought out. Obviously, the soldiers and the reenactors, their clothing and outfits were very impressive. They had blanks that were used for their weapons. But let me tell you, those blanks are loud. The first time our train was under attack, my hearing just went boo. Kind of had this tunnel hearing sort of effect because it was just so loud. I wasn't expecting that. It's as close to combat as I'd ever want to be, but it was intense because I was right there, right next to the Germans who were firing at the Allies on the ground. It was really impressive. We get to the station. This area is caution taped off for passengers to watch as this stage battle takes place. Firefighters and EMT are in standby just in case, but nothing bad happened. And that was nifty to see them hiding behind trees and bushes and trying to encircle each other, and really well choreographed. The details were just impressive. I think my favorite thing was in the railway post office car. The German High Command had set up a tactical map with little figures showing where their armored divisions were and where their infantry were, and they would move the pieces around, replicating what was going on in the Ruhr Valley during the spring of 1945, during the encirclement toward the end of the war. Oh, that was so cool. Everything about this event was really well set up and really well executed. People had a lot of fun. Oh, and on the trip down, when the train was occupied by the Germans, they were playing German marching music. And on the return trip, you heard American swing music. Small details like that, but boy, the immersion was thorough, which makes me feel like, as I've come to research tourist railroads and museums, the number one thing that stands out to me is that the 21st century of rail preservation will be defined by events. You look at some of the things that organizations are able to put together, because it's not just rail fans. It's connecting these other fan cultures, finding where we have points of similarity, and making these big events happen that could otherwise never happen, because everybody is bringing their knowledge to create new events, to recreate history. And with something like this, you see people of all ages, especially with the World War II reenactors. Now, some of those boys would have been too young to enlist back in World War II, but they took their character seriously. They were out there fighting every bit as fervently as their adult counterparts. And just seeing all of that inclusion was impressive. And then the amount of riders that event brings in is huge. The train was packed. I don't know that they sold out per se, but their ticket sales did very well. And it was comfortable and it was thorough. So even though I've been on the Oil Creek in Titusville several times in the past, and it is a great ride, and I highly recommend it if you are in Western Pennsylvania, this event gave it a whole new perspective for somebody who's very familiar with it. Another great event that we've covered on the past on the Roundhouse was Steampunk Unlimited, hosted by the Strasburg Railroad. Again, a great example of where you take two particular fan cultures, you find a point of common interest, and you create an amazing event out of that. The photos that I was able to capture on this were really cool, and if you're listening to this, link in the show notes. If you've been watching this, you've seen some, but there will be more in the description. This is what our hobby is going to be defined by, our ability to be creative and pull off big events such as this. Your question of the day for this minisode is, what is the most exciting event you've been to at a tourist railroad or railway museum that wasn't specifically focused on trains? Let me know at theroundhousepodcast.com. Links to social media there. Thank you guys for tuning in, for listening, for watching. And remember, as always, that the Roundhouse is our house.